Settle down, have a seat. It is so good to be here with all of you. It might be my first time, but I am a fellow sister in Christ. So welcome to our great Commonwealth of Virginia. And some of you may know we don't call her a state, we call her a Commonwealth. That's her official title, because you probably also know that it means, in the words of John Locke, the consent of the governed. And so that's where we get that from, right here in Virginia, yes. And by the way, as you know, we are a royal colony, so I could tell you that being the very first permanent English settlement, we beat the Puritans. But of course you heard that my story starts in Jamaica, and so I'll give you a little bit of history about Jews in Jamaica, because the first real records that we have of it starts after the English captured Jamaica from the Spaniards in 1655. But actually it was when Columbus on his second voyage discovered Jamaica that the Spanish Inquisition, as you know, and Jews fled, and came to Jamaica. In fact, in 1672, we have a record of Jewish settlements, Jewish cemetery now being called a national monument and designated as such in Jamaica. And in fact, there are about 21 different graves, cemeteries that we have in Jamaica, designated as such. Now, our very first synagogue was, I hope I'm saying this right, Neve Shalom. It was built in Spanish Town, Jamaica, 1704. But then the Ashkenazi and the Portuguese Jews in Jamaica came together in 1912 and built a synagogue that's still standing, and that happened because of a fire and as an earthquake forced them together. You might find this a little humorous. One of the buccaneers, as you know, the pirates, was a well-known Jamaican, and his name was Moses Cohen Enriquez. Yes, I thought you'd find that funny. But unfortunately, as is usual, wherever the Jews went to, they experienced hostilities, and Jamaica was no exception. But they overcame that because Jews are overcomers. Yes. And became members of parliament, voted in by the Jamaican population. So, I say all that to bring you forward to my campaign, which, as a matter of fact, was built on the Jewish history, believe it or not. My call, in fact, seemed to come in a matter of fighting, because when I first asked the Lord, should I run for lieutenant governor, he then said to me, you're asking the wrong question. It was the sort of Joshua question. Are you on our side or are you on their side, God? And it was Joshua 5:13-4, where he said, no, wrong question. The question, he said to me, is not whether you should run for lieutenant governor or not, it's, are you willing to lose? Because if you're willing to lose, you can do anything. But I didn't think that was the call, so I said, well, that's not a yes, and that's not a no. So I kept asking. And then he brought me to Daniel, and it became the Daniel call. That was Daniel 6, where Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. And what he said to me, because I asked him, how does Daniel become Daniel? And he said he was willing to be eaten. And that's what he said to me. Are you willing to be eaten? Right. And then I'm told that I was called for such a time as this. And as you know, that comes from Esther, otherwise known as Hadassah. And most of the time, that's where we focus, on the very last part of that verse, called for such a time as this. But back it up. I go to the very first part of that verse where it says, don't think that if you remain silent, that you are safe. Because help will come from somewhere, but you and your family will not survive. And that's why you're having this conference. This is courageous that we do, that we stand with Israel. Because if we remain silent, we will not be safe, because the thing about revolutions is they come for you eventually. Especially the kinds that we are talking about. So, when I began my campaign, I took a verse, and it was this, Psalm 133 and verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when brothers and sisters live together in harmony. Because that's what we needed after the elections. And we didn't have that. We were at each other's throats, black against white, rich against poor. It was bad. And we had an opportunity to bring hope. And that's why I peppered my speeches with Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Yes, I know the plans I have for you. Because I said this election is not about us, it's about our children, our children's children, and their children, to give them a future and a hope. That's what it's about. And I also took another verse from Proverbs this time that says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That's looking into the future. And I don't think he was talking about money. No. So what kind of an America are we going to leave our children's children? So, having said all that, I want to bring to you what we in Virginia have decided. In fact, our governor, His Excellency, because that's his official title, remember, we're a royal colony. His Excellency, the governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia, on day one, issued an executive order number 8. And he did not wait until things went bad. No, he issued it his first day in office. And this is what he says very quickly. January 16th, 2022 will be the 236th anniversary of the Virginia General Assembly enacting what we call the Virginia State Statute for Religious Freedom, promising that no man shall otherwise suffer on account of his religious opinions or beliefs. And by the way, we in Virginia gave to the United States of America the Bill of Rights, because they were our Bill of Rights that James Madison demanded be adopted by the then Constitutional Convention as they were trying to form a more perfect union. So America, you're welcome. And this day one executive order, the governor stated, was, there's an intolerable rise in anti-Semitism, and we're not going to tolerate it here in Virginia. We're going to stand against hatred. We're going to combat anti-Semitism in our Commonwealth. And he has given charge by forming a commission, and that we are going to hear their answer, or the very first parts of their answer, come December of this year, on what we're going to do to ensure that we don't have anti-Semitic activity here in our great Commonwealth. And so I leave you, yes, I leave you with this. And it is from another Virginian, our very first president of these United States, George Washington. And in fact, it is a bringing together of all I have stated when I came this morning. And it is that this was written to the very first synagogue in America. And it's in Newport, Rhode Island. And it was dedicated by a rabbi from Jamaica. Yes, they sent for him because their original congregation was comprised of Jamaican Jews. Yes. And this is what our president said to them, and this is read, I'm told, every year in the synagogue. It's still standing. George Washington said this: the government of the United States gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance. And then here is his prayer. May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. May the Father of all our mercies scatter light and not darkness in our paths, and may us all in our several vocations useful here, and as in his own due time and way achieve everlasting happiness. And so with that, and my pastor just yesterday telling us that Jesus recognized one of the women in the synagogue who he said had been bound by Satan for 18 years. He called her this daughter of Abraham, and he healed her. I say to you, rescue the people from darkness. Make the darkness tremble when they see you coming. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Say so. Say so. God bless you, and God bless America.